Welcome back, everyone. So, as Lee had said in the last video, this one here, what we're going to be doing is adjusting our base height map.
Right. What we're going to do is, if you remember from the last time we played
Let
inside
me
of
get it for
Unity,
you.
yeah, if you can get it, and it's
There
not
you go.
working for me, can you go ahead and play it?
hmm
So this is kind of like the little UK. So it's cute and it's quaint, but it doesn't really suit our purposes. So we need to make some changes to it. But as we start making changes, some problems with it are going to be very prevalent. So what we're going to do is adjusted scaling to start off with. So if I go over to terrain generator where I've got the scale, right now we're taking our X and Z and we're multiplying it. And in fact, we're making our map smaller. We need to make our map larger, much, much larger. So to do that, we need to change our scale factor. And our scale factor is going to be changed from this 14.1 to 0.02777778.
Okay.
So we're not going to be very precise about this. This is just, just a rough estimation. All right. So if we go back into Unity again, and we play. Okay. Now, if you want to run around a little bit, you can see there is some difference, but not a whole lot. So
Hang on.
we we need some more altitude change in this.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead. Whoops.
You can just move your mouse whichever way you want to.
Well, no, I hit the wrong key on mine,
Uh huh.
and TeamViewer started talking to me for some reason.
Oh,
So what we're going to do is back over here in TeamViewer. Let's go ahead and change this to something a little bit larger. Let's do 0.5. And we also need to change our max height because you'll find that the larger you make your worlds, the larger your altitude changes have to be for it to actually show up. Our altitude change is fairly low. So let's try 1024 for now, just to see what happens. This might be too big. It might not be big enough. So we'll find out. All
and
right.
I'm just going to come over here.
So we're getting some changes, but as you can see, our altitude height
That planet's
is,
awesome.
yeah. So,
That's what I call a mountain.
yeah, I wasn't really going for the Fortress of Solitude look. So
And
let's
that's
try
what you
something
have.
else.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and dial this down to 512. And let's go back to terrain generator, get our scale. Let's try 0.5 and build that out and see what we get. And this is what you get with R&D. Lots of trial and error. Aha.
Very interesting.
So but you're starting to see part of the problem. We're scaling up and we get this very blocky stair step look, which isn't very desirable. So, and also it's kind of noisy. So what we want to do is we want to adjust our base map. And if we go adjust into Photoshop, the way this works, what we were sampling is just this little area right here. You could only see a 3x3 section of this. Well, we've got quite a large world. Now, all this detail that you see specifically up here in the mountains where we get large altitude changes is a lot of fine detail noise. And when we scale up the map too large, what you end up with is what you saw in that last example. Lots of little platforms all over the place. So to fix that, I'm going to take our background layer. I'm going to duplicate it, go to Filter. I'm going to run a Gaussian blur on it. Now this is all trial and error, but I found that about 5 pixels in this case works quite well. So we've blurred out a lot of that information, but we still can tell where higher levels of altitude are compared to lower levels of altitude.
Mm-hmm.
So we've gotten rid of the high frequency noise and just left the major changes of altitude. The other thing I want to do is all this black. I want to get rid of it. I don't want it completely gone, but I want to bring it up just a little bit. So I'm going to put an adjustment layer on, and the layer I'm going to use is levels. Now I want to take my black level down here and raise it from 0 to about 64. That's going to take our blacks and remove a bunch of our blacks and give us a more middle level gray. Now, if I were to push this to, let's say, 128, that takes our black and puts us at 50% gray. This is technically sea level.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that's this color would be sea level in our R&D demo, and everything lighter is above that. So, but that makes it a whole bunch of little islands, so we don't really want that either. So I found 64 is a pretty good number to work with. We could also go in and adjust our alpha gain. We could slide it down and effectively raise the height of our mountains or lower them as well, just by adjusting these numbers. But again, for our purposes, one works just fine. So we'll take these changes, we'll save them out. I'm just going to overwrite our original. I do have a backup of this, so I'm not worried about it. If you don't have a backup, you might want to think about making a backup before you make your changes permanent. Now, if we go back into code first, I wanted to go back into code
Okay.
one more time. I also want to go to our train demo, and I want to kick up our size another level. This will give us 5 tiles as opposed to, or 25 tiles as opposed to 9. Take a little bit to run, but it'll show us a little bit more of the world. So if you want to run that.
Okay.
So what we're getting is some smoothing. So we're not getting a lot of the lots of up and downs that we had before. We're getting a more gradual slope where sea level is down here. This is more of a sea level plateau, and then we just gradually work up in altitude.
Okay.
So it's, like I said, it's still kind of hard to see, and it doesn't look anything like a real terrain because it's so blocky and stair-stepped. This was the problem that we had mentioned when we first started up this section of videos. We were talking about we need to overlay a noise layer on top of this to break up all of this information to make it look like terrain, but we're still using this underlying base layer to determine where our low layers are, where we have some foothills, and technically this would be probably foothills.
Mm-hmm.
And then further up towards our map where we have the area that would be Scotland would have more of what you would think of as true mountains. So, but this is just our base area to start with. And what we're going to start doing from this point forward in the upcoming videos is starting to sample a noise texture and overlaying that information on top of this base layer to refine the shape of the terrain and make it look like a real terrain that you might come across anywhere in the world.
All right. So is that pretty much everything for here?
Yes.
All right. Well, with that, that is going to wrap up this video. Thanks a lot.